You're about to meet Alison Coates, a dear, dear friend of mine who I've known for about a year since we took the Creatives Workshop together, an Akimbo workshop in the spring of 2020. Me and Alison here, we weave nudity, dating apps, personal judgments, culture, the Book of Ishmael, or rather, the book Ishmael by Daniel Quinn, acceptance, tolerance, inclusion, belonging, organizational culture, rules. I speak about Basecamp, the software company. Yeah, we're kind of all over the place. So if you like that kind of stuff. Oh, I forgot. We speak about vaccines too, COVID vaccinations. And I would say we speak about this from a state of curiosity, not from a state of being set in one camp or the other. So, give us a go. Oh, you look so lovely and I look so wild.
You've just been saunaing.
I have just been saunaing.
Wow.
And cold water swimming. 7.2 degrees both in the ocean and the air. So
is that good when they're the same?
It's actually quite lovely when they're the same, because when I do my cold water / sauna, I always start by going into the water first, and then go into the sauna, and it is lovely. Then it's lovely all the times, but the times when you get into the water after you've been in the sauna and you get up and it's the same, that's when that bubble comes. It comes anyway, but when you get out of the cold water up out of the water, this bubble just it's the loveliest feeling. It is the loveliest feeling. Yeah, I love it. And there's something to it, it's like it is peace, but there's also possibility. There's also this sense of I can do anything, because you've just been in really cold water and you get up, so there's it's a lovely bubble to be in.
So does it matter how long you've been in the water? Is it just the transition from being in to being out?
I would say that there's a sweet spot. Today I was in 4 times, and I was in a minute and a half all of the times. So not long, but way more than that. Go in the water and get up again, because then you won't be getting the bubble feeling. That's too short. Your body doesn't know that you've been in the water. It's too short. You have to do it for enough time so that you really can sense that, okay, I'm in the cold water. And then you go up. But if you stay too long, so that you're actually crossing the boundary, you shouldn't be in that long, then my body kind of, it's like it's a shutdown. It's a reaction against the cold.
Right.
So then I don't get the bubble feeling either. Then I just know, okay, I went too long. I shouldn't have. So it's the sweet spot in between those.
And you do it numerous times, not just once.
Yeah. So today 4 times. So going in, sauna, in, sauna, in, sauna. Well, however many times that was. So 4 times. And actually 4 sauna sessions, but the last session is just to kind of warm up a little bit and then go shower and get dressed. Yeah.
So is it right next to the ocean then? Where?
Yes.
I'm trying
it's
to picture.
out on a pier. It's out on a pier. So this is Kallbadhuset in Malmö. So we call it Kallis. So it's an open air. There isn't really a good English word for kallbadhus. Literally, it means cold bathing house.
Right.
But they don't have a pool. So it's not an open air. Normally, when I think of open air, it's an open air pool. But it's not that. So it's built. So Malmö, the town, has a beach, basically smack in town. You know, it's really there. And that beach is like 100 years old or something. They kind of created it 100 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's not something that was a beach, you know. I mean, it probably looked like a beachy thing, but nobody was beachying, right? So they built Kallis, I wonder, 1912 or something, 1920, well, something or other. So it's on this long pier. There's a wooden pier out, and then at the end of it, there's this open air thingy there's a little restaurant and a cafe, and then it's 2 sides. So you have the men's side and the women's side.
Right.
And there's 2 saunas in each of the sides. One a little bit warmer, one a little bit less warm. And then there's one in between in the middle. That's a wet sauna. That was closed today. But today was on the first Monday of every month. It is Rainbow Color Day. So everybody can go anywhere. So I went with my friend and we did, so we stayed, he's a man. So I joined him. I tagged along into the men's side, which I think is the nicest thing to do, because what I've understood from other friends is that kind of the men who go over to the women's side go over to the women's side for a reason, whereas the men who stay on the men's side kind of are the nice men. Can you say that? I'm generalizing heavily, but it was nice. It was lovely.
That's a really interesting thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah. So, you know, everybody's naked because it's like no swimsuits allowed. You have your I have a little sarong, you know, you put it, so you sit on your own little towel in the sauna. And then what with COVID, there's a restriction. So you can only be 10 to each sauna, 10 people. But yeah, lovely.
And then you just jump off the pier.
Then I just jump off the pier. There's like they have an sort of there's so in the summer there's more piers there. So inside, like fenced in, so the men's side and the women's side, they're sheltered, and so you can in the summer it's just jam packed with people, nude, tanning, you know, swimming, lying there in the sun and stuff. So there's like this sheltered ocean, you can say. It's built in, and then there's 2 stairways down into the ocean.
Right.
So we started with the one that's a little bit sheltered and then went for the other ones, depending on how heavy the winds are. I sometimes just do the sheltered one, which is still ocean water. I mean, it's not closed off. It's just surrounded by these piers where you can lie. So, yeah. And, it's lovely. It's gorgeous. It's looking out onto the ocean. You have the bridge and you have the turning torso and you have Copenhagen. Clear days, you can see Copenhagen on the other side. So, yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing.
A nice way to start the day.
Yeah, really, really nice. And then I had to bike home. And when I biked up, I put my rain pants on. But biking home, it wasn't raining when I got out from Calais. So then it started raining. So I was all wet. So I had to, that's why I'm kind of wild. So I had to get some new pants on. Here I am. So hi, Alison.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good, I think. Yeah, I'm just thinking, do you have the view on your screen?
I have us.
You have, yes.
So I'm recording it and it is us. Yeah. Yeah,
because I'm looking at details of eye direction, and because it's one of those things that I notice. And
so what do you notice?
That you're looking down to the corner.
Yeah. Right now I'm looking at your eyes. And where do you see me looking?
Sort of, across, sort of, I'm not sure now.
Yeah. And now I'm looking into the camera, so where am I looking now?
Yeah, that looks like above my head.
That's so weird.
It is weird. It's weird.
There? If I look there, do I look at you now?
Yeah, that's more like...
Okay, that's like above your head in the black space. It's like, it's weird.
Yeah, and slightly to the side.
Mm.
Yeah, because I've turned my self view off because I know that it's much more what's the word? Energy efficient, not to be having to see myself.
Yeah, I was pondering that because I read that post that Seth Godin posted on that.
Mm.
And I don't know, is it my ego or my narcissistic side says it doesn't drain my energy at all. Not when I'm in conversation like this. So I've tried it and it I don't know, it makes it wonky somehow. So.
Oh, right. Interesting.
Yeah. So for me, I've tried, it's helpful.
Tried both, and I did. Yeah, last year I was always turning it off, and then more recently I'd got into the habit of leaving it on, and then I tried turning it off again. Yeah.
So what do you notice?
It feels like I'm not distracted because for whatever reason our own view seems to be slap bang in the middle of the screen. When if you're looking at a group of people on gallery view, we're not tucked away in the corner. It's there you are in the middle. So it's hard not to see. And then, and it feels like it's just a fraction of my attention, but it's a fraction that I don't need to be using doing that. And thinking that I don't, real life conversations, I can't, what are they?
You don't have a mirror next to the person.
You don't sit there with a mirror going, this doesn't happen, does it? We have no...
Maybe that's a hit, though. Maybe we should, start to manufacture that. The selfie mirror.
But I was just thinking about people using their phones, and there was something I saw, an article about young people, women in particular, and how much they change their image on selfies, anything that they share, that they can't just share what comes up first in the camera, really. And even there's so much, even on Zoom, you can have that appearance enhancing effect that gets rid of your wrinkles.
Yeah, and lipstick and I don't know, everything.
And beards. We can have beards.
We can have beards, and marked eyebrows, and you can get eyebrows of different shapes. It's like, oh no, thank you. Not my cup of tea. Yeah, but I was listening to an episode of Akimbo Biking Up to Town where Seth was riffing about lying, about how ads lie, in the sense that if you it's enhanced. You have the makeup artist, and you have the clothes designer, and you have the thingamajig, and then you have the, I don't know, everything they do with Photoshop or, Lightroom or something. And he said, and I wonder if this is changing, because he said that companies that try to put on normal looking people, are punished. They're punished by the market. And I wonder if it's about to change, actually. There's a Swedish undergarment company that specifically kind of say, we will be using people, like women, not supermodel women, that are then even more supermodeled by Photoshop, but normal people. And I see them in my feed on Facebook now and again, and I go, oh, I like that, to the point where there was another Swedish ad of two ladies that I think have started a company with outdoors clothes for women, because they were kind of, disappointed in what's there for women. It's not very fit, yada, yada. And they look a little bit too unnormal. There's a picture of two women, and I don't know if it's actually the founders, because I don't know the company. I haven't Googled it, but my thought was, nah, I want to see what those pants would look like on somebody my shape. So I was actually kind of punishing them for what I perceive as a lie then. So maybe there's a shift going there.
Yeah, because there's Dove who make a point of using normal people or people with scars or disfigurements. I'm very conscious. I have a dog snoring.
I just heard him. I'm going, oh, that's Murdoch. That's fine.
Yeah, he's snoring gently.
Snoring happily away.
Yeah. He'll get louder now. Yeah, because I was looking at clothes, was doing this work with Kathleen around my wardrobe, and just horrified looking at trousers or pants, and it's like, well, who has these legs? Who are just sort of skinny and long, and how can I tell whether that pair would look nice on me, because I have womanly curves, but we just don't see images of womanly curves. Yeah, it's just, and that just thinking about you talk about the naked sauna experience and the idea of all these bodies just being on display, and how the horror for a British person of nakedness, public displays of nakedness. Certainly not. And the idea that we're all, this aspiration of perfection and feeling. I remember going to Centre Parks, I don't know, years ago when boys were little, and having this fear that, oh, I'm going to have to wear my swimming costume, and oh, my body isn't perfect, and getting very anxious about it, and then going into the swimming pool and just seeing bodies of all shapes and sizes, and it's like, oh,
that's what we actually look like.
That's what people look like. Mm-hmm. And and it was a real revelation to me.
So what happened then to you? I mean, did that alleviate the anxiousness, or were you all of a sudden just comfortable with who you are and how you look, or?
No, not all of a sudden comfortable. Probably still not comfortable, but more comfortable, realizing that stick insects are not the norm. Mm. That probably more open to the possibility that different shapes and sizes exist, and it is perfectly okay to wear a swimming costume if you're not size 10. And I remember it reminded me of the it must have been a YouTube video of somebody saying that they were bikini ready, and so this whole thing about being bikini ready, and she was this beautiful large woman who just put her bikini on and said, "Yep, I'm bikini ready. I don't need to do anything." And and even the term bikini ready, somehow it means that you've got to shave off a few stone and get rid of your
quite a lot of hair.
Hair, yes,
precisely. But it's interesting. I noticed now that I was in you're not supposed to notice. I know that. And I haven't been oogling, but one of the differences between the men's side and the women's side is the amount of body hair around your genitals. Definitely in the women's side, I feel the odd one out. Not alone, but the odd one out, because I don't shave anywhere. It's like, I don't shave. I can come out in public and say that. I have come out in public and said that before too. It's like, I don't.
So you just changed my perception of the Swedes. I thought you were all hairy. I thought you just embraced natural body hair.
No. Might have been, probably was. I would, my perception of the 60s was nobody was shaving. But no, there's a whole lot of shaving and waxing and trimming, and I don't know everything that goes on, and I'm just not. It's like, no, sorry, won't do you. No. And so that's one thing I noticed. And also, both in the men's side and the women's side, bodies come in all sizes, all shapes, all forms, all lengths, all colors, all everything. And it is so fascinating. It's like, oh, I love it. And in a sense, I would say the more comfortable I've gotten with nudity, both my own and others, the more beauty I see in bodies. The less harsh judgment is there. The more, oh, wow, cool. I think I might have told you this before. A couple of years ago, I was in the summer in Calais, and jam-packed with women of all, again, shapes and sizes and whatnot. And there was this one fairly young lady lying belly down, bottom up. And her bottom was the cutest because it was hairy. It was like it was like fuzzy, it's like she had, and it just looked super cute. And I remember it still going, oh, wow, yeah, that's also a possibility. Not being, yuck, but rather, oh, wow, look. So yeah. I love to, it's like in the past couple of, maybe since 2018, I have, deliberately stopped. I when I go swimming in the ocean, I go to the nude pier, because swimwear really, especially when you get up, it's cold and it's wet and it's clingy and it's, no, much rather just go without it. So I've gained an appreciation for the body in a way that I don't remember having before.
Yeah, because the change from judgment of it, that this is how a body should look because that's the image that we're being shown, and then everybody you see, you're judging against those criteria that someone has created. But instead, when we start to be curious about it and actually, because it just, that whole thing fits everywhere in life, about whether it's about bodies or behaviour or all sorts of things. So when we're just confined or restricted by the judgment that sort of pervades, and then we use that automatically without much thought, any thought, and then it just perpetuates. And then when people start to stop and think and be curious, and it's like, well, really, is that the only shape a body can be? Or how cute to have a fuzzy bum.
It is super cute. But one of the things that I'm also noticing in me, what with now then, going down to the nude pier or Calais now and again, is I'm also kind of becoming more aware of what attracts me with the body. So it's like, because I can tell you for sure that there were a lot of the bodies in Calais today that I'm not attracted to them. I don't want to go, ooh, can I touch, please? Can I nibble some? Can I pet? Can I just cling a little bit? So it's as if my appreciation for the body has, like you say, it's gone wider. There's a bigger span, and I can see the beauty and the diversity. I can see how, but also kind of fine-tuning a little bit my own, that's something that attracts me. That's something that I would want to go and say, oh, can I please touch? So I'm both opening and also becoming kind of more discerning with regards to me.
Mm.
And I got a profile on Badoo, 3 weeks ago now or something. It's like an optional Tinder. And, that's also something that I've been observing myself in, what attracts the eye, but then what attracts the intellect, or what attracts the heart. It's like, so there's different layers to it, and kind of, if there's somebody who looks nice, but what they've written is not, or they've said that they're a smoker, nah. It's like, so
do you just see the photo? Is it like Tinder where there's a photo and it's swipe left or swipe right?
You see the photo, you can see multiple photos if they put up more, and you have 500 characters to write something. Somebody uses all of it, somebody doesn't. And then Badoo has a set of questions that are optional for you to answer, but you can answer them. Are you a smoker, or are you a drinker? Are you not? Do you want kids? Do you have kids? Are you ready with kids? What's a deal breaker for you? What do you do when you want to spoil yourself? There's a couple of different questions. So different people answer different of these. And then you can also have, there's a little tag cloud. You can say, these are my 5 interests.
Right. So you see the photo first, and do you reject people based on their photo without reading anything else?
Yes. But
do you know what
seldom.
It is?
Yeah.
What it is that you see in them?
I'm kind of sensitive to people who, if they have multiple photos and they're not smiling in any of them, it's like, what it's like that makes me suspicious, I guess. So that's usually a no. It's like, not that it's not okay to look serious, but it's kind of okay to smile too.
But are there other things that you find you could make an immediate judgment about whether? I was there's things, if people have a photo of a dog and not themselves, it's like immediately dismissed. If there's a motorbike that has a photo, it's like no. And sometimes, what they're wearing, I'll make a judgment based on what they're wearing. Or you see, I was really
the number
surprised.
of tattoos.
Yeah. And I suppose even the style of their facial hair. And it was, I was really surprised at just how many visual clues I was taking from a photograph, thinking, no, I'm open and unjudgmental. But then it's like, no, I'm making class-based decisions on what's in your background. Are you
are you educated or not? Yeah. So I'm kind of, it's interesting. There's a lot of people who have ugly photos. They're blurry, they're not in focus, they're, it's like, it's a selfie taken from below, so you see there's the nose. It's like, no, in a sense, you are presenting yourself, and how you present yourself. It's like, so it is interesting, this. Do I then want the makeup, the made up pictures? No, people who have those filtered images from like Snapchat or Instagram, where you look all, you don't have a wrinkle on you, flawless. It's like, no, thank you. So somewhere in between, I want to see you, and I don't see you if the photo is blurry or you're out of focus.
Yeah.
And I don't see you if you've put on one of those Snapchat filters either. Give me somewhere in between. I don't mind if you've made it black or white and, done something like that. That's fine. I have a couple of those on my Badoo. But I rarely swipe right, which means approve, potential match. People who have alcohol in their pictures. If they're sitting with a bottle or a beer or a glass of wine or it's like, no. Because that sends signals that I'm not all that into. There are people who, like the drinking thing is interesting because that question that they had, there's like 3 or 4 answers. It's like, I'm a teetotal, or I drink socially, or drinker. And that one makes me go, okay, if you say that you're a drinker, it's like, what does that mean to you? It can make me a little bit curious, but more it makes me go, oh no, we probably won't have that much to do, because I very rarely drink.
Yeah. And I suppose some people, they are drinkers, and wanting a partner who is a drinker is really important because it's so boring when you're the drinker and the partner isn't.
Precisely, and I'm the one who isn't.
Yeah, so the finding the balance between the manipulated image and the poorly executed image.
Yes.
And having something that's really genuine.
Yeah.
And it's sort of showing people at their best, but without having adapted them to something that isn't real.
Precisely,
that must be weird.
Image.
If you put on an image that isn't real, and even thinking before, manipulated images, that even a fully made up face is very different to an unmade up face. And
which for me is not much of an issue because I don't do makeup, know. So that's an easier one for me. I mean, for me personally, my images, because I think last time I put on makeup was summer of 2019. One time I was going to a 1920s party and I had to borrow makeup from my friend that I was going with because mine is finished. It doesn't exist anymore. It's died, and that was actually really fun that time. It's like, oh, here I can do this, So once every 3 years or 4 or 5 or, that can be fun, but that's about it. But another thing that I'm kind of prone to swipe left on is golfers. It just doesn't do much for me. And there's, my new self is kind of sedentary. It's like, I can bike into town. It's a 30-minute ride to the kallbadhus to Kallis, that's fine. But I don't have any inclination of wanting to travel or something. So somebody with purely, themselves in clearly very exotic and big cities and stuff and, travel as one of the main interests, it goes, no. Because I'm kind of satisfied here at the moment. But I have So I saw something about myself when it comes to this last week, which was I'm attracted to complex people. You know, like whole people, multi-dimensional, no one-dimensional, not two-dimensional, not even three-dimensional, multi-dimensional. Give me, you know, the scope and width and breadth of you. Ooh, now we can start to... So I have started, whenever there's a match, I figured I might as well get a little bit of gauge. And this is my judgment coming in here. So I start by asking, read any interesting books lately?
Right.
Which has a lot of people go, no, I don't read. And then I go, that sends me a signal.
Yeah.
And being such an avid reader as I am, you know, I think I've done 37 books now. It's May 3rd today. 37 books so far this year. It's like, I love books. I don't need somebody who loves books, but somebody who doesn't read at all. You know, it would have to be something else to kind of show that there's this, because for me, reading is curiosity. It is challenging myself. It is a way of traveling. It is, you know, there's so much to reading for me that you can for sure get if you listen to podcasts, or you have a you take lots of evening courses, or, you know, I don't know what you do. You can do many things. You know, you watch documentaries or whatever, but it's a little bit of a sign. So golfers, nah. No readers, nah. Yeah, it is interesting.
Because it is, I'm just thinking how it fits with the whole marketing thing about who's it for and who's the minimum viable audience. And it's like, oh yeah, that's what you're doing with all these different things, whether it's drinking, smoking. It's like, no, it's not for that. It's not for that. It's true. And then, because it's something that continues to sort of puzzle me, because I'm thinking, well, yeah, I'm about people and I could film anybody. But that gives me billions of people. But it's not that. And but then there's a part of me that likes to be inclusive, and I don't like to consciously exclude anybody. But it is, this is interesting about how there are, because I know there are certain people who would never be filmed, and other people who would do it under protest, and others who would really get a lot from it. But it's trying to find, being willing to exclude without it being, this is sort of the idea of equality and inclusivity, which are sort of the big things around, aren't they? That Black Lives Matter and and stuff about women safety going on in the UK. So there's, it feels like there's this imbalance between everything needs to be inclusive. We all need to be inclusive and treat people equally. But then sort of right down to the personal level, looking at relationships, we're very clear about who who we would want or wouldn't want. But then how does that play out on a bigger level? So I don't know any answer to this or where it's going, but there's something about how, well, part of it is people like us, isn't it? That we're looking for people like us. So you're looking for someone who doesn't drink, who doesn't smoke, who likes to read, and has body hair.
Yes.
In all the right places. But does that mean that we can't include all the others and be accepting of others?
So it's so interesting. So just a little short aside, I realized the other day that I'm interested in interesting people. And when I say that, I mean interesting for me. You know, because somebody that I'm not finding to be an interesting person will be the most interesting person for somebody else.
Yeah.
Right? So that's one way to look at that. It's like, what's interesting to me? What makes me tick? And I'm lucky in that I have curated my private sphere in such a way that, it's jam-packed with interesting people. You know? Not only, and there's a couple of people that I still keep close to me that perhaps, we were friends in school or their family, relations somehow, that if I were to choose now, maybe I wouldn't choose them. But there's another quality that makes me want to keep them close.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the one thing. But the other thing that this makes me think about is boundaries. So I've been pondering the concept of boundaries for a long time. Where are mine? What are mine? How do I honor them? How do I spot them? And in one sense, the more boundaries I have, you're not allowed to do this to me, or I will get mad, or nobody can use that language to me, or say this word to me, or this and that and the other thing. Man, life gets hard. Right? If I were to get so upset if people would call me a bitch, it's like, is that a boundary that helps me? Is that a limit, or something I've put in place? You're not allowed to do that. Yeah, well, they're a free person. They can do whatever they want. But how do I react to it? Because I can say, that's really not cool, without like throwing a fit about it.
Yeah.
So getting clearer for me about where are my boundaries and how do I define them in such a way that they're more general, I guess, but then also overarching and more rounded, rather than you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do this, and anybody who calls me that, I will slap in the face. It's like whatever those might be. And honoring me by saying that everybody's not for me, I'm not for everybody. Is that to be excluding, or is that to be both self and other honoring?
Because that, it feels really complex and messy.
And I love that.
That how, being okay with ourselves and knowing our own boundaries and thinking about boundaries that we can say no. I won't, if someone's using language or behaving in a way that we don't like, our boundary can only be that am I willing to accept that? And if I'm not willing to accept that, then it's up to me to decide whether I no longer spend time with that person or I say something, but I can't make them change.
No, precisely.
But the idea, so thinking about acceptance and tolerance of other people, and just with sort of religion and the separation around the world based on religion, and how much othering happens, but how can we? Because it's like if I'm not following a particular religion, can I be totally accepting of all those who do and have no judgment around what they're doing? But is that about tolerance? Is it tolerance, acceptance?
And tolerance is it's a word that I have a hard time with. Tolerance for me is like, oh no, don't you come here and tell me that you're tolerant. It's like, I really don't like that, but okay, I'll make an exception.
It's like putting up with, isn't it?
Yes, it's putting up with based on what I deem to be right, the right way, the right thing.
You're actually wrong, but I'll put up with it.
Precisely. It's like, oh no, tolerance, ugh. Acceptance for me is much more open. When it's genuine, because it can be used as everything can be used as a it's like a role, a veil. I put on this veil of acceptance, but I really don't. It's like, oh no, that gives me the shivers too. But recently, Matthew Ward Bain, our friend, I've heard this before, but he's brought it up several times, and it's like making me see the weirdness of inclusion, which also says, based on what I know to be true, what I know to be right, the way I live, the way I speak, the way I do things, the way I, welcome in. I am graciously welcoming you into what I know to be true about the world. Then I'm including you. It's like, and what Matthew points to is that a lot of what is spoken about as inclusion is a white worldview. Welcome to join us. But you'd better not mess it up. It's like, and I don't know that it's like, so he pointed to the word belonging.
Right.
Which is much more open, because then in a sense I can choose, do I want to belong to this group or not? And if I'm on the inside and it is a culture of belonging, if you come along or somebody else comes along and, they're 3 feet tall and green and hairy or, whatever, if the culture is one of belonging, hey, how great to get to talk to somebody who's 3 feet tall and green and hairy, was it? So it's interesting. And yeah, Ishmael, I've been ranting on about Ishmael. In it, Daniel Quinn points to he divides the world in two, in a sense. It's the taker culture or the leaver culture, where you and me and basically everybody else on the planet belongs to the taker culture that took off 10,000 years ago with the agricultural revolution. And the leavers are Aboriginal people that have been here for the past 3 million years, kind of evolving. And he says just this: the taker culture is so prevalent. It's like it is the most successful cultural appropriation game ever, in a sense, because that's the premise. You have to do what we do. Whereas the leavers kind of have the same culture, but none of them, generalizing possibly, but none of them say, you have to do what we do, but we do this. Based on, do you live in the Arctic zone? Do you live in the jungle? Do you live in the desert? Whatever works. This group has figured out a way that works for us. You guys over there, you figured out a way that works for you. Yay, great. But I won't be able to jump ship and sort of still be me with you guys, because you guys do things differently. So in a sense, there's a lot more acceptance there.
In the levers.
In the levers. With takers, well, everybody has to do it the taker way.
Yeah.
I mean, look at North America. With Native Americans, that's what we said. You have to become like us. We want to include you. How kind of us. You need to do what we do. And they fought nail and tooth to, please, can we just be let to do it our way? No, cannot, must not. Everybody has to do it our way.
Yeah, and it becomes, but it has become the only way, hasn't it? And that it doesn't matter where we are in the world.
Yes.
Everybody has their smartphone. That shocked me. That's looking at levels of poverty and income and stuff like that, but still they'll find the money to have a smartphone and be connected, so they can see what the world is doing, and sort of the aspiration to be a part of it. Like, well, no, please stop. Please don't do what we're doing, because just because we're doing it, and all the systems, the education and economic and all of that are telling you that this is the way. Like, it is just one way. It's not. But trying to talk to people about that. No, that's how it is. That's how it works. That's how economics is. It's like, no, it's one idea, and it even it's just because I'm so curious about what's going on now with vaccination.
Mm.
And it's really, it's difficult to talk about it, because if you dare say anything, then you've either got to be pro-vaccination or you're an anti-vaxxer. But
There's nothing
to be curious in the middle and go, oh, this is interesting, and how, from a marketing point of view, how incredible that in the UK over 30 million people have been vaccinated. It's like, what else? Yeah, how has it come about that so many people are willing to do the same thing? And then I was talking to my brother yesterday, and we were talking about vaccinations, and he said, well, I'd never even given it a second thought. It was just, that's what I'll do, because
that's what people like us do things like this. We have a smartphone and we get vaccinated.
Yeah, and he was willing to be curious and to listen to me being curious about it. And he was, I think he was surprised by himself that he hadn't given it any thought other than, oh yes, I can now have my vaccination. And that, I don't know, it says a lot to me about the way we are as human beings, and that are we allowed to think? And what is it? And then, there's so many, the polarization, that's the bit that gets in the way, that if you dare to question it, then you're some conspiracy theorist. Yeah, I'd like to pop back in 100 years' time and check out what happened, how this turned out.
Yeah. And I'm with you. I miss the middle in this. It's like, yes, you have those who are as pro as you can be, where one of the most prevalent rationales is it's your duty, right? It's you have to do this for the safety of others. If you don't do it, shame on you. So, and it's like, ooh. And the anti-vaxxers, who are at least portrayed as completely off the rails with, there's no rationality, there's no reason, there's no science. It's like, but I don't fit into those categories. I don't. I'm neither. I don't want to shame anybody into this. I don't want to get on the bandwagon of how extremely dangerous it is. Notwithstanding the fact that people are dying, people have been dying, and anybody who's personally affected by it, is really affected by it, whether or not it turns out well or not. And that's like, I don't want to minimize that in any way. And will I be allowed to stay not vaccinated if I want to? Will I be allowed to travel? Will I be allowed to come to the sites of my customers? Will I be allowed on public transport? I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's kind of scary.
Yeah, because it feels like more and more pressure. Like the the pressure of, no, it's your duty. This is, you're selfish if you don't, because it's not about you, it's about everybody else. And yeah, the idea, there was a course I saw advertised, and you have to be fully vaccinated to go on the course.
Yeah, precisely.
It's like, oh right, if this, yeah. And then thinking, well, what sort of life do I want to lead? So yeah, it feels like the pressure to conform and to fit in, and to be able to have the freedom that is being offered, but then still the uncertainty. Nobody knows how this is going to turn out, or how long this will go on for, or what's needed next. And I just have this sense that just going along with what we're being told, without thinking, without having some discussion and flexibility for different people having different circumstances, and that it's not appropriate for everybody. And so it's back to division, isn't it? That be able to divide people up again, like those who did and those who didn't, and yeah. So this is like, where's the middle in all of this, in everything? And that's something that just, it feels like it comes up more and more, that there is this polarization, that you're either one extreme or the other. And we're not very good at sort of dealing with the grey in the middle. And I was thinking about it was about autism and people being diagnosed with things, and then other things, sort of, is it well, it's autism, but there's something else and something else, and it's sort of trying to define who somebody is by giving them a label and saying, well, you have this thing, and then which fits with this conversation around bodies and how incredible bodies are, and how everyone is different and they're all amazingly unique. But then we're saying, oh well, you're autistic and you're not autistic. And
and I mean, it's a reasonable metaphor in many ways. It's like, here's a pair of pants sized 8 or 10 or 40 that we say, okay, but I have a bigger bum, a tinier waist, and I'm short. It doesn't work. For me to get a pair of pants over my bum means that they will be wobbly in the waist, and they will be at least 15 centimeters, possibly 20 centimeters too long. Yeah. But it's easier for the manufacturer, right? To just have size 8. They're all like this. Which also is this Ishmael take or leave, it's one size fits all. You have to conform. Everybody has to conform, because somehow we've convinced ourselves that the system will fall if not everybody conforms, right?
And we get told that.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. What if everybody didn't do as they were told? That gets thrown at me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then change doesn't happen unless people do something differently.
No.
So it does take people to think outside the box to make changes, and whether those changes end up being positive or negative. But if we were all doing the same thing, we'd still all be leavers, wouldn't we?
If we were all, precisely, because that in essence is what the taker culture meant. It was, you have to do this one thing, which, there's a piece in this. So I read Ishmael first time, I don't know, 94 or something. Then I reread it a couple of months ago, and now I read it this weekend because tonight is a book club session over in Creative Community. And let's see, now I lost my train of thought. What was I gonna say? What we were speaking about? Everybody has to do the one thing. So what was it I was thinking about? There was something there. What it points to is this inability to, profits. There we go. If you look at lever cultures, you won't find any profits. If you look at taker culture, man, we've got them. We've got Jesus and Mohammed, and we've got Gandhi and Mother Teresa and Martin Luther King, and we've got Mandela, and we've got, we've got prophets, Saint Francis, it's like an enormous amount of prophets. Because what we are not taught is what's the one right way. And we need to know this because that's what our culture tells us. So the relief when a prophet comes along and says, this is the one right way, it's like, whew, man, finally, here I know. Whereas lever cultures, again, that's what they are about. Not finding the one right way, but what works for us. This is how we are people. This is how we are together. We do this. People like us do things like this. Yeah, but lived. It's lived. It's not, now I come, now you must follow this law. Like, no, it doesn't work like that.
I was thinking about motherhood and the stress and anxiety of getting it right and reading the books. It's like, I need to read the books because I need to know what to do, and the obsession with finding the answer in the book. And then it's like, stop and wait. Like, how do you feel? What's your intuition? But it's like it's not allowed. There is a right way to do things, and that right way. Just even thinking about food and stuff that has happened around food over the last, 40, 50 years. About, fat is bad, salt is bad,
cholesterol is bad.
Cholesterol is bad.
Yes, carbohydrates are bad.
And it's like, we want to know what to do.
The answer. Give me
what's the answer?
Answer.
Tell me what to eat. Oh, yes. Right, I'm being told this is what I should eat. But we have no relationship to our body and how our body feels with what we're putting into it, because it is totally disconnected, which must fit into the lever culture that I imagine that being much more intuitive and connected with life and our own bodies and other bodies, the planet around us and nature. And it does, at times, it feels there's hope because people are paying more attention to nature. But then it's, just overrun by... It was interesting when you were talking about profits, and I was like, oh, which sort of profit are you talking about? And thinking, well, does the other sort of profit apply to lever and taker culture? In lever culture, is there a need to make a profit? Do we have to make a profit out of what we're doing? Whereas in taker culture, it's all about how much money can I make, and not about what sort of life can I live. How can I contribute? It's money.
And there it's like I've kind of decided that I'm going to reread Ishmael and the entire trilogy, yearly. I don't need to decide, but that's what I feel like, because just now rereading it 3 months after I read it last is like, oh, I see new things, and I've read the story of B and my Ishmael in between, and now I want to go, oh, I need to read the story of B again. And then I'll go, oh, I need to read my Ishmael again, because there's so much in it that is interesting to me, and it makes me think and question in a way that definitely is uncomfortable. Definitely. One of the things that's sort of at the root of this lever-taker discourse is food. So lever culture says you take what you need and you leave the rest. Taker culture says you take it. Don't leave it for anybody else, especially not for, bugs or rodents or birds or, God forbid, the wolves or it's like, no, it's mine. I need to have it. Putting food effectively under lock and key, to be able to have it, because we have to have the control. We need to know that. So in Ishmael, there's this little dialogue between Ishmael and Alan, where Ishmael is playing a lever to Alan's taker in a conversation about this, where the taker character is trying to get the lever to understand that he needs to have everything that he might possibly want to eat every day available. So it's like, okay, you want to have a deer right now. Yeah, well, if there's a deer around, I'll kill it and I can eat it. But tomorrow you won't have a deer, but you want to have deer. What do you do then? Well, then I'll snare a couple of rabbits, but you wanted deer, you should be allowed to, it's your right. You should be able to get deer if you want deer. And the lever character kind of going, but why would I? I can just as easily have a couple of rabbits. But what about yams? If you want yams, well, then I'll go out and I'll dig some up. But what if you can't find any? Well, so, it's like, then I'll find some berries. It's not a big deal. So just that thing, how lever culture, in a sense, sees that there's food all around. And taker culture says, I need to stockpile in such a way that I can always have everything. Because there's stockpiling, collecting and keeping stores of things. That's not against lever culture. that's not against nature. You have squirrels doing it, and you have lots of, honeybees do it, So that's not the thing, right? It's this thing, but I need it and you can't get it, I need to have it. It's mine, precisely mine. And you just go, man, start to think, realizing, oh, we live in such a weird culture. It is so odd.
Because it's sort of thinking about abundance, and that the idea of abundance is so alien to, and just again, talking to a friend recently, and he said, well, yeah, I've got a whole cupboard full of tins of food, but there's nothing I want to eat, but I have to have all of these tins in my cupboard, and thinking that, there's a scarcity mentality that we need to stockpile our food. And it is, it's so much about me and mine. I have to have mine because I don't trust that everyone else will share what they've got. And then so then I was thinking this morning when I was walking Murdoch, that how abundant my life is, and the way that I'm living. There was an electric car that drove past, and it got me thinking. It's like, oh, I've got this diesel van, and then just thinking, but I am not running a house on my own for just me and dog. And instead, over nearly 3 years, I have always had somewhere to sleep.
Yeah.
And people have shared, and I believe that they've done it willingly, and they've allowed me to stay in their houses, or I've stayed in my van, but there is everything that I've needed, and I've had more abundance by doing that than I would have done if I'd stayed in my individual box. And like, I'm doing what's expected of me, what I should be doing. I should be aspiring to be a homeowner and having my own home. But instead, I'm using resources that already exist, and having the pleasure of spending time with people, or being in places that I wouldn't otherwise have been in. And I can, even recently, there's been more reports about house prices going through the roof, and percentages that they're going up, and I can feel there's this little bit of fear that, oh, what have I done? Have I got it wrong? And then, no, I can choose to live in fear and anxiety around it, or I can not. I don't have to get tied up in that. And then there's a bit, even saying that, there's a bit that's going, but you'll regret it later. And it's like, well, what am I going to regret? That I'm either going to live my life abundantly, or I'm going to not. And so it's like, well, which, and neither way is right. There's no right or wrong. That the choices I'm making now, I might make different choices later. But something about trusting that we will have enough, and I know that there's more than enough for everybody in the world. And there's people sitting on vast fortunes.
Mm-hmm.
And others who really don't have the basics that they need. And but it doesn't have to be like that.
No, it doesn't. I spoke to Frank about this desire to amass zeros in my bank account, or tins in my cupboard, or clothes in my wardrobe, or whatever, cars in my driveway, or shoes, I think it is a deeply, deeply held search for, drive for trust, for safety, for reassurance, for knowing that all is well. I can take care of myself. But there's always that doubt in that. And look around us. How well are we, generally speaking? How many people are satisfied with life? How many people are of sound physical and mental and psychic well-being, spiritual well-being? How like rampant the opposite, right? Whereas if you look at the lever cultures, that is what they have. That does not mean it's an easy life. That doesn't mean that there isn't famine or, diseases or accident, all of that shit goes on for everybody on earth, period. But that sense of knowing that somebody has my back, that's what the lever culture is, or the lever cultures. It's like, we are in this together. If you don't find the deer today, but I found 3 hares and I snared them, we will share. Because tomorrow you will dig up yams and I will struggle to find a few berries. We will share. I don't have to be the one to provide each and every single day, because we will share. And just imagine the trust in that, in the community, and look around us into what do we see lacking? Trust in community is what we see lacking.
Yeah, because just to make that statement that we will share, that people, and trusting that others will do their bit. It's like they're sweeping generalization, but there isn't that trust that the other will do it, because he'll be a lazy person, and I'll end up doing it all and they won't do it. But even feeling that sort of the shift in energy, that when I'm feeling that way, then it shuts down that possibility. Whereas if I'm open to it and I'm trusting and I'm allowing the abundance, then it gives scope for it to happen. But when we're so shut down, and all of these boundaries that we impose around ourselves and what's okay and what's not, then it does shut down the possibility.
And I was just thinking, that parable of businessman goes on vacation to, I don't know, somewhere in the Caribbeans, enters out onto the pier where this local man is sitting and he's fishing, and he nabs a fish and he puts it in his little bucket, and he's watching the sunset and the sunrise and whatnot. And the businessman asks him, wow, those are some really nifty fish. If you borrowed some money, you could buy a boat, and then over time you could buy more boats, you could hire people, you could get a lot of fish and you could sell them, and this and that and the other thing. And the fisherman going, but why should I do that? He's like, well, so that one day you can retire, so that you can sit on the pier fishing, watching the sun rise and set. And the man going, that's kind of what I'm doing, right? And I haven't thought about this, but this one is a parable of lever and taker.
Ooh. Yeah.
Spot on. And I don't know how many times I've heard this story told. People still aren't going for the fisherman. They're going for the businessman. They're going for the, oh yeah, no, I need to work hard so that I can live and enjoy myself. What the fuck? Where did we go wrong? Well, agricultural revolution sometime. Because that's also the thing. The agricultural revolution does not mean that there weren't agriculturalists before. There have been agriculturalists for a long, long time. I mean, even ladybirds are agriculturalists in a way, because they keep their little, what do you call bloodless? The little leaf lice, it's the literal translation, that lives on leaves and sucks the sap out of leaves. Ladybugs farm them. They keep them because they get some sugary thing off of them. You know, it's like there's agriculturalists. The revolution was, you are not allowed to do anything other than what I'm saying that you need to do. And you need to be like me. We do it this way. That was the revolution. I'm just going, we could all be that fisherman.
Yeah, because what is life? Yeah, we're sort of thinking about the trap that people get into. Well, I see it as a trap. That's my judgment about it. That you need to get your education, you need to get a job, you get a mortgage, you get married, and then once you're in all of that, there's no way out, because you've created a life that relies on you having a job to pay your mortgage, and then you aspire to have more, because
that's what you're supposed to do. Yes.
You have more, so a bigger house, a bigger car, better holidays. And it's like, really? Is that life? Is that? And then, but the people who are in it and don't question it, it's, well, yeah, of course that's what you do. That is what you do, with no doubt and no question. And often I would like to go back to that place of no doubt, but then I wasn't happy.
No,
I was really miserable. But then it was like you were saying about the prophets, that I had certainty. I knew what I was meant to do. This is how it's meant to be. And I can follow that because I know what the rules are. And then when it breaks down, when it doesn't, it's like when a marriage ends and it's like, oh shit, that wasn't meant to happen. And then it's like, well, oh, what else isn't what I thought it was, and that there's another possibility. So even things like education, that when a child stops going to school, it's like, oh, I'd always assumed school was just where you went every day for 15 years, and then they stopped going. It's like, oh, well, is there something different? What else is possible? And then, this sort of continual journey of when something is destroyed, this sort of trust in the institution of marriage, or the trust in the education system. It's when that trust has gone because my circumstances, it didn't work, then I start to look at something else. But for the people who it's always worked, that they love their job, they've I don't know, even relationships, it feels different now, that feels like there's less expectation that you will be with the same person forever. And marriages, I don't know, I feel, naively went into marriage thinking that till death us do part actually meant that. But so it's a being open to something being different. Feels really important. But then it goes back to being in this middle place of not the two extremes, but in the middle, and being able to have the conversations and the discussions openly and without judgment. Or I was watching something, a debating thing. It was like, oh, that's it. And then So these two sides debate an issue, and then there's a winner. and it was like, oh, wow. And that just like, really? Can you not have a debate and just come away enlightened? But somebody has to be declared the winner.
The winner. I think that is the purpose of a debate. I think the purpose of a debate is to get each side to feel as if, yeah, he gave it to her or whatever. It's definitely not for enlightenment. Not the way debate is today. I would even say that discussion isn't for enlightenment. Conversation. Yes, now we're getting somewhere. But it's interesting, this thing then. The analogy of you having had a marriage breakdown is like, okay, losing trust in that, in the institution of marriage, and this and that and the other thing. I think some people go through this and it's like it's a one-off thing, I'm losing trust in the institution of marriage, but just for a while, and it doesn't impact my trust in the other institutions. Whereas for some people, and you're one, and I would say I'm one, it's like you lose trust in something, or it shifts. There's a shift there. You see, okay, and then you start to look at other things, going, it's like, and then that kind of spreads. And there's a willingness for discomfort in that. Because just like you say, I wish sometimes I could go back to just knowing, yes, this is what I do. This is my path. This is how people like us do. Everybody does the wheel, you're in it until you die.
And it just feels so attractive and I could have a really nice life, and I could have a nice house and nice food, and it's like, what's not to like?
Yeah. What's not to like? Well, I guess that depends on if you actually like it. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if it is you, if it is if you're in the right place, go for it, right? But anchor it, like within you, anchor it in you. Yeah. There's so much I have done in my life that I have done for others, which is not a bad thing, not at all. But when it's done at the expense of me, it's not a resilient system. It's not a way to live, because I won't be able to continue,
Yeah.
Right? So finding those things that are me, those things that I want, need, must do because I can't not do them. If that is, keeping a lovely house, or being the best parent you can, or climbing the career ladder, go ahead. But how many, it's like I wonder how many people are anchored in that. How many people wouldn't rather sit on that pier fishing? And then some people go, oh no, that would be the horror, because they want, are programmed to do much, much more. Fine. Keep 3 fishing poles running, or, go do something else, but anchor it.
And thinking about people who look at me and what I've done with selling my house and having this nomadic lifestyle. And there's a lot of people, I wish I could do that. But they can't let go of what they have. And so it feels like there's a lot of admiration for me having let go of everything. Some people are like, oh, what? Why would you do that? But more often probably more often is sort of admiration for doing this thing, which maybe there's a part of them that would like to be able to do that, but a bigger part that's like, no, I have this life and I need to maintain this life because that feels comfortable, and what you have done is really uncomfortable.
Did you meet, or do you meet? Because I have friends who did the same. They sold their house and all of their belongings and went traveling for, it's like they didn't have an end date. I think it was 2 years or something, basically house and pet sitting around the world. I know that people reacted to them in the 2 ways that you've spoken about, but also taking it as a personal affront that, oh, you're selling your house and leaving your job, so, well, what, isn't it good enough? It's like as if they were pointing a finger at somebody else's choice.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think I've had that response. Maybe there's a sort of, well, it's all right for you that you could do that, and that that they can't. So there is, and that often comes up, the choices that we make, and people being so restricted without seeing that they're restricted, that they don't see that they're making choices because that is just how it is. So the idea of me making a choice, which they didn't know was a choice, I suppose that can be threatening, that it is. And maybe it's a bit of that wake up thing, that when you see that something doesn't necessarily work the way you always thought it did, so to see somebody else selling their house, and I can imagine that could be really unsettling. That oh shit, what do you mean I don't have to be doing what I'm doing? And then the more enlightened ones will be able to make a choice about that. They'll be able to see, oh, there's this other alternative, or I continue with what I've got, and I can choose which one. Or the resigners will be, oh, I can't do that because my circumstances are whatever.
Yeah. I'm guessing it's the kind of the same for the vaccine conversations, right? There are those who will hear, can you think like that too? And there are those who will be personally affronted by, because you should do this or that.
Sort of like I'm doing my duty. Like I'm doing my duty by following my career path and doing everything that I've been told to do, or that I'm having my vaccination, or that, and I'm doing it for the common good. And then here's this person who's not doing that. Yeah, that's threatening. And
we're not very good at that. So on Twitter yesterday, I think, somebody wrote something about Basecamp, which is a software company. And she wrote, if you present an idea and your colleagues at work react really vehemently against it, maybe you should pause, chill, talk to a few people, not react, but act. And I was, I got in a conversation with this person saying that I would say that's kind of valid for everything, everywhere, not just CEOs of a company. It's like, and I said, Basecamp ? I haven't been online. I haven't heard what's going on. Turns out last week, the last week of May or of April, the two founders decided, amongst other things, to forbid like socio-political conversations in the company platforms. So Basecamp has always been a company that works remotely, I would say. It used to be called 37 Signals, but I'm guessing it's more and more. It's like, so Basecamp in and of itself is actually a place where you can have chats and talk to people. So no political discussion allowed. And I went, oh man, that's weird. And that was kind of surprising. Basecamp has always struck me as it's an interesting company. I've read, they have a book called Rework that came out, 10 years ago. That was really interesting. But it makes me now go, maybe I should read that and see. Because this aspect of will forbid something because it's sticky, because it's messy, because it's hard. Let's forbid it. I go, that's kind of taker culture there, right? It's like, no, we don't do that stuff over here. Here we do the other thing. So apparently 21 out of 57 employees have resigned over this. I'm going, oh shit. Crap.
Wow.
That's a statement. And again, yes, political discussions are sticky, messy, hard. But the people who are now then not allowed to mention this, don't mention the war kind of mentality, is like, well, they won't get better at dealing with it, I'm guessing, like, okay. And again, I'm a whole person. When I come to work, you actually get all of me. Yes, I can act professionally. Yes, there's things that I probably should or shouldn't do. But if we forbid, it's like, ooh, ugh. Yeah, it's like, it's interesting given this conversation too. What are we including people into? What are we tolerating? We're not even tolerating political discussions anymore. And I go, how are they going to enforce this? What will they do?
Hearing how many staff resigned over it, like
third,
like their boundaries, like their personal boundaries. Yes. It's like, no, that's not okay.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. People are so fascinating.
I know they are.
People.
I know. I do too. It is endlessly fascinating.